everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Robert Manni, and he's the author of The Guy's Guide to Love. And I'm so excited to have him here today because today he's talking about how to improve your chances at finding love. And I'm so excited. Robert, welcome to our show.
Oh, welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Suzanne. Thank you, everybody.
So, Robert, tell our audience a little bit about you before we jump into these awesome tips.
Okay, my background's in advertising and marketing, and my novel is The Guy's Guide to Love. It's kind of a male Sex in the City about two guys competing for love, sex, power, and money in New York. It's a lot of fun. And I also do radio podcasts, Guys Radio. I've got a screenplay, the whole bit. I've got content built around this Guys brand, which is about when men and women can be at their best, everyone wins.
Exactly. And ladies, I will tell you, if you like Sex in the City, which I loved, you will love his book. Trust me. I could not put it down, and I can't wait for the sequel. So, okay, so let's talk about how to improve your chances at finding love. Number one, and I completely agree with you. I can't tell you how many times I've given this tip out, is to put the gadgets away. So, Robert, tell us more about this.
Well, it's an obvious one, but, New York is such a, there's so many singles here, yet it can be such a lonely town. And I sit on the subway or in a bus or walk down the street, and it used to be that you could walk into a bar or walk into a restaurant or walk into a library or walk into a bookstore and you could just approach somebody. Hi, my name's Robert. Nowadays it's really tough because everybody is glued to their phone. If you walk down the street, I guarantee you'll find at least half the people are on their phone. If you stand it waiting for the train or you're on the subway, it's more than that. And it's just, if you're going to be connected, addicted to your gadget, you're not going to be present and you might miss out on meeting some really cool people. Now, I'm not saying you go meet your best, you're not going to meet everybody on the subway all the time, but you know what? Meeting people the organic way can be a lot of fun. So if you want to be available, and a lot of people are available, at least be mindful of the use of your gadgets. So you want to check your email and all that, check it and put your phone away. You don't have to be glued to it all the time. And if you're going to listen to music, you're not going to meet people.
Exactly, and that is very true. And I mean, I know you give the example of the subway, but I'm going to use a better example because I see this a lot, is when you're in Starbucks or in a coffee shop, wherever you are, or restaurant, I see so many people, like you said, on their cell phones, on their iPad, or they have their iPod, their earphones in, and so many men tell me that women look unapproachable when they're like that because they feel like they'd be interrupting them. So like Robert said, you have to put those gadgets away, and if you want to meet someone organically, that's what you need to do, because it's just these gadgets are actually putting up a barrier between you and meeting somebody.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, so your second tip is to pay attention. What do you mean by that?
Well, to be present. So if, one way is to take out the earbuds when you're done with what you're doing. But then just be present and be available. If you go out someplace, be aware of the people who are in the same environment of you. If you take a class, get to know who else is in the class. Just be open and pay attention to what the possibilities are. Now, I say this to men just as much, if not more so, than women, because women are pretty good at paying attention. But men need to pay attention more. But they'll scope out the situation and see what women are available. I assume that women do the same thing. But I think all of us get distracted very easily, and we keep going back to our gadgets or thinking about our own stuff and not being present and aware and open to meeting new people.
Well, and I'm going to add to your pay attention thing, because I find that a lot of women can be closed off and they kind of just wait for the man to approach. And if you keep just waiting around for the man to approach, it's probably not happening for you, or the guy that's approaching you is probably not the guy that you actually want to meet. But is to get more curious. I want to just add to that, is to get more curious and ask questions, because I think, like you talked about with the gadgets, is we've become so closed off. Is before we used to just be curious and ask questions, and that opens you up to meeting more people.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you don't want to spend like 2 hours with Mr. Whiskey Breath that you met at the bar to figure out he's married and has 3 kids. But you do want to be present that you could meet people and in an organic way. And I think it's always more fun to meet people organically. I've met my wife through Match.com. We went out once, and then things happened from there.
Mm-hmm.
Met a lot of people, great people online. However, it's always more fun, I think, to meet people the old-fashioned way. But it can work anyway. But the main thing is you have to be open and available to meet people.
Exactly. All right. So your third tip is to get real. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of people who are who are taking on dating after maybe a relationship, a breakup, or whatever, or getting back in the game, they're not realistic about who they are, what they want, and who would be right for them. And I think a lot of people that I met, at least online, they didn't really have a clue as to what they were looking for. They just went out to go out, get out there. And I guess that can work, but I think it's better if you have an understanding, like we're both, Suzanne and I, both in marketing and advertising. So you have to really understand your own personal brand, who you are, what makes you different, and then look at your target market, which is the available people out there of the opposite sex, and say, you know, what makes me attractive to them? Which type of individuals from that group are going to be right for me? And what you sort of do is you sort of qualify the sales so ahead of time, so you can kind of figure out very quickly what you don't want and what you want, and you'll get closer to finding the person that's right for you. So I just mean by get real is feel realistic. Feel realistic about who you are, and be realistic about who the right person might be for you. A lot of guys, you know, they're super critical of women, yet they're sitting home on the couch, drinking beer, hanging out with their friends, and they think, you know, they're going to meet, you know, a stripper or something, if that's their choice, or some type of, you know, super hot model, but it's not realistic. Like, yeah, you have to get with the program. If you want to do that, you have to run in those circles. You have to be a certain type of individual that's going to attract women like that. If you're just going to be a schlub and sit around at home, that's not realistic.
Right, but we're talking to a female audience, so let's talk about being realistic for women. And one of the things that I wanted to address is it's about not only being realistic, but I also want to add, because yes, you can be very specific about what you're looking for and get real in that way, but I also see women go to the opposite end of the spectrum where they're too picky. And as a matchmaker, like when I call a woman and I say, I have this great guy for you, and then she goes down in her mind her checklist after I tell her everything, and she's like, oh, he doesn't have this, and then she's like, I don't want to go out. And I'm like, really? Why don't you just go out and see if he's a good match? And I mean, if he's missing a couple of things, I don't think that should be a big deal unless they're core values.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. That's a great point. But I think the realistic thing, I think, you know, that women need to know that men are sometimes not seeing the world through a realistic lens. Right. I think that's important. But for women, I think they have to be a little bit more lenient, if you will, with the list. Because I think the longer somebody stays single, a lot of times the longer the list gets. And that can work against you. And that's something that women don't want to have happen, because you want to meet people, and if your criteria becomes narrows down your opportunities to a very, very niche amount of people, you know, it's going to be tougher and tougher to find them. So I think you have to prioritize, if you're a woman, what are the most important aspects of my list? You can have a long list, but like try to narrow it down to the top 3.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Like values, is the person, maybe if they're working or not, or at least, and do they have a dream? Do they have, you know, some type of vision or goal as to what they want to do? Now, of course, it's more fun to be with somebody whose dream has come true, but I think it's really important that women date guys who have some type of fire in the belly about what they want to do with their lives.
Exactly. Okay, so your fourth tip is to follow up.
Okay, that's really for, you know, once you meet somebody, it's very important that for both men and women to acknowledge that if you had a good time, let the other person know. I think if you know, the male should take care of the first date, and you know, I'm old-fashioned that way, and he should pay, and he should do his best to arrange the date, and then he should follow up quickly and say, hey, I had a great time, and do you want to do it again? And I think it's nice if the woman acknowledges that and makes sure that she's available, and that the two people can get together instead of just moving off, and like 2 weeks transpires and the woman doesn't know, is the guy going to call? The guy's like, maybe he's like has some other things to do. I think it's important that If you have a good time, then not let the opportunity slip away, that you acknowledge it and let the other person know, hey, this was fun, let's do it again. How hard is that?
Yeah, exactly. Because I hear a lot of women will ask that. They're like, "Is that too forward?" And I'm like, "No. Why would a guy think that was too forward to say thanks? I had a great time." He would actually love that because he would know that you actually had a good time and you would like to do it again. Sometimes guys, Robert, tell our audience that sometimes guys kind of wonder. They're like, even if you both had a good time, they're still kind of wondering. I don't know if she really had a good time and wants to go out again.
Yeah, guys are. They're not very good at reading signals. And so sometimes you think, wow, that was great. And the woman might think, no, no sparkles there, sorry. So I think it's really helpful if a woman at least gives the guy some type of sign that says, hey, I had a good time. And, that's easily done.
Exactly. All right, these have been some awesome tips. So Robert, tell our audience how they can find you.
Best way to find me is my website, Robert Manni, MANNI.com. There's links to my radio Guys Weekly podcast. You can get free excerpts of the novel. There's videos on there, and there's over 240 blog posts about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. And once again, the name of the book is Guy's Guide to Love. And you can also get some free excerpt there and learn how to buy it there.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you would like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free ebook on the 3 secrets guaranteed to attract any man based on scientific research, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.